Welcome to Reddit News. Like and subscribe or this will eat your cookies. What is the stupidest thing you've done just to show you could do it? I let a black widow spider bite me to prove that they were venomous, but not deadly. I also won a $150 bet. Did it actually inject venom into you? Or was it a dry bite? It actually takes a lot of energy to make the venom. They rarely inject people with a full dose. They save it for their prey. How do you even make the bet as the friend in this situation? Like best case scenario, you lose $150. Worst case, you win $150 and your friend dies. It basically resulted in an argument that got out of hand. Eventually it got to the point where I said I could let it bite me, and I wouldn't even go to the hospital. Challenges were issued and money came into it. Ah, makes sense. So the win condition for your mate wasn't your death, but needing to go to the hospital. Right. If it seriously threatened my health in any way, you wouldn't have to pay anything if you lost that bet. So it's a win-win situation. Exactly. It was a no-lose situation for me. Financially, that is. Being dead, I couldn't post about it. Chugged way too much apple cider vinegar. Huge mistake. I'm not familiar with the effects. What happened? It's just extremely acidic. It burned like crazy going down my throat, and really upset my stomach as well. That acetic acid, bro! There is not a more potent smell that I am aware of. Ever smelled a rotting diabetic foot? I work in a medical lab. I've held my fair share of diabetic amputations, so yes. Yes, I have. As a kid, I told my friends I could hold my breath for a long time. Long enough to pass out, in fact. And that's exactly what I proceeded to do. My friends and I used to have those breathing contests in the pool where you'd go underwater and see who could hold their breath the longest. I'm a really competitive person, so of course I won. I passed out in the pool when I was 9 doing this. The lifeguard was too busy flirting to care, and he thought I was faking it. Edit. Typo. How long was it? I would like to know as well. My record is 3 minutes and 19 seconds. No passing out, though. I started practicing for freediving. Did that back in grade school. My teacher didn't notice me passed out on the floor and no one told her. I woke up a while later and someone had covered me up with a jacket. Scared my teacher when I popped up off the floor in the middle of her lunch break. I'm not even mad. That's impressive. When I was 6, I stapled my fingers because I had convinced all of my friends that I had iron hands. I was around that age too, and I was fiddling around with a stapler and stapled my pointer fingers together. It was the skin just next to the nails, so it barely hurt. I went downstairs to tell my mom, who was doing laundry, that I stapled my fingers together. I still remember the look on her face to this day. Edit. Then again, that was yesterday, so of course I remember. /S. When I was 3, I stapled my thumb, because I wanted to know if it would close up the way it does on paper inside of my thumb. Open parentheses. Obviously it didn't close up. Just went in like a U. Close parentheses. That led me to work out the mechanics of the stapler, and how the bottom half is required. Then had to explain to my mum, who was coddling me as though I'd had an accident, that I had done it on purpose. Open parentheses. Same age. I chased a bee in the garden until it stung me. I had been informed that bees sting. I was curious. I felt bad later when I found out the bee would have died. Clothes parentheses. You are my people. Shoved my pointer finger into my nose up to the second knuckle. I then got a sinus infection. Who knew? My daughter did that to me when she was 2. Then she hooked her finger and pulled. Had a terrible blood nose, and for a few days, if I sneezed, it would start back up. 0 out of 10 would not recommend. I audibly gasped when I read this, and I wish I hadn't read it at all. I did it in the shower while washing my face in a hurry. Accidentally jammed my pinky pretty much as far as it would go up my nostril. It hurt like lightning had just struck my face. Then, a drop of blood. Then another. Then drip, 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 drip. Pretty sure I brained my damage that day. How? His sinus got infected. Most likely had something to do with the finger he jammed up there. No. How did he fit his finger? The dark side of the Force is pathway to many abilities some would consider to be unnatural. One friend gets super creeped up when someone starts running at him like a dog. My friend realized I'm an expert in running like a dog. I too would be creeped out. LOL. But would you be creeped up? This is hilarious! I get creeped out by snakes. I can never imagine a time where I'd need to know that I get creeped out by other humans running at me like a dog. Maybe you'd be extra creeped out by people slithering at you like snakes. Bruh. Jumped illegally over the China-Myanmar border and back again. Edit. Well, this blew up. This was in 2002. I was in China legally, in the town of Ruili, Yunnan province. Across a small stream and two thin strings of barbed wire was the city of Muzay, open parentheses, White Elephant City, close parentheses, Myanmar, which was closed to foreigners at the time. A group of opium addicts were smoking in the thick bushes growing near the border and invited me over for a chat. What could go wrong? I saw no border guards were within line of sight of me, so I did. We had an interesting chat in a mixture of English and Chinese. Later I wandered into the closest narrow street lined with dilapidated white wooden buildings, with bearded men in sarongs wandering around. I bought a Burmese noodle dish. No alcohol available in that state. Then I hightailed it back to the same crossing spot and over. About 90 minutes after I first went over. Ruili, China is, open parentheses, or at least was, close parentheses, a lawless borderland, with all the vices that lawless border towns typically attract. My crossing was the least of the local authorities' worries. I wouldn't repeat it or recommend it to anyone, though. Did you get caught? He wouldn't be commenting if he had. You would think they would force you to use Reddit in the Gulag. They would force you to use Reddit in the Gulag, but only new Reddit. The worst of all punishments. Was trying to do this stunt on a dirt bike to impress this dude. Ended up falling and breaking my collarbone. RIP. And then you guys got married, right? He's married now with kids. And well, me? I am still single. Walked through the brush of our tree line to get a football to prove it wasn't poison ivy. I did it. I got the football. It was poison ivy. I once did something similar, but it turns out I'm immune to poison ivy. The rest of my friends? Not so much. Fun fact. Poison ivy in humans is like chocolate for dogs. It only affects 40 to 60% of things. With chocolate for dogs, it affects enough of them to avoid all dogs from all chocolates just to be safe. With poison ivy in humans, only a certain percent get the effects. However, just because you don't get the effects the first time, such as itchiness and rashes, you can easily get them the second or third, etc. You can handle poison ivy 20 times thinking you're immune, then all of a sudden, the 21st time hits you like a brick. Like chocolate for dogs. Even if you think you're okay, it's still best to just avoid. There's a phrase, I think it's, leaves of 3 let it be, that's supposed to tell you which one is poisoned or not. At summer camp when I was a kid, I rubbed poison ivy on my face to prove I'm not allergic to it. I win a pack of gel pens and didn't break out. I told my 6th grade friends I could just off a 2-story roof and not get hurt. Guess who only got a scraped knee that day? Not me. I broke my leg. Parkour people, on the other hand, can do a safety roll and be mostly unharmed aside from some mild pain. I wonder if they learned it from playing Ocarina of Time. Edit. Thanks for the award. Those people have knees of steel, and shoulders, and ankles, and elbows, and... I jumped off a 2 or 3-story fire escape when drunk once. I think the only reason I came out unscathed is I didn't fly off, but hung by my arms first. Still don't know how I had the presence of mind because I barely remember most of that night. I climbed to the top of a pine tree until the branch supporting me broke and fell face first into the ground. Fortunately, I was inebriated enough to cushion my fall. Parkour! As a kid, where I lived we'd get about a foot of snow 1 day per year. And we had a 2nd-story balcony that overhung a hill that added about another story. I used to love jumping off that into the snow cushion. Never got hurt. Cliff diving. Saw an old man do a front flip off a 40-foot cliff. I said if he can do it, so can I. I did the flip all right, followed by a belly flop that Zeus could hear. Knocked the air out of me. But luckily people were floating nearby to save me. Yeah, flips require some practice to get a good feeling for. If you just jump for great heights, you will probably hate yourself for a couple of days. There's a 24-hour race, where for half the race, every lap you have to jump off a 40-foot cliff jump. What race is that? World's Toughest Mudder. Pretty intense race. People run over 100 miles of hill racing and obstacles. Is this the one the Netflix doc was made about? God. Just remembered trying to learn how to do a flip at the pool as a kid. Couldn't manage it with the short time from the low dive, so tried the high. Super painful belly flop. The other kids just respectfully and silently let me lie to the side on the ground for a bit. Ow! Yeah, everybody knows how that feels in one way or another. Snuck into the Hilton and confiscated a white robe. Got caught and they let me go without checking my backpack. That's alcohol for you. Confiscated. LOL. They don't deserve these robes. I'ma take them back for the people. Surprised they didn't check it. Was it 100% genuine Turkish cotton like the legends speak of? It's 300-year-old cotton hand-picked by slaves. Not sure where Turkey fits in, but I'm guessing since they also had slaves around the same period, they say it comes from there because just sounds more exotic that way. You see, the cotton pickers would eat turkey for lunch every day. Did 5 pull-ups on an antenna strut 400 feet up on an antenna tower, not tied off. Reading this gave me anxiety. I have an almost unnatural fear of heights. I firmly believe that not being afraid of heights is unnatural. It's not the height that I fear. It's the ground.